Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. Gives me a great pleasure to study Tanya. It's not about teaching others, it's about internalizing and gaining so much myself. So I thank you very much for enabling me to do this. We have completed chapter 6. I would like to not even give a review, but just the last part. In the last part, the rabbi was talking about anything that's in a very short, abbreviated way. Anything which is not holy is unholy. There is no gray matter. There is no gray area. There is black and white. Either we serve God. If we don't serve God, it's the opposite of serving God. So where does it come from? The energy comes from the three negative klipot. Klipa is peel or shell, and they are to defile God, to defile the human and distant him from God. So non-kosher animals, God forbade us from consumption. They are generating their energy from the evil soul. Their soul is from the evil source, which is called the three evil souls. If the animal is kosher and we use it for a mitzvah to serve God, for example, eating it on Shabbat is the simplest way. It comes from holiness. Anytime I engage in conversation or action that is for the service of God, to obey God, for example, I'm kind, I give good advice, I help someone with advice. Anytime I'm serving God with action, I celebrate Passover by eating matzah, I eat in the sukkah during the holiday of Sukkot, I help someone with my money, I help an elderly cross the street, I prevent someone from getting hurt. That energy came from holiness, the godly soul. Anything that's not is unholy. There is no such thing as maybe or it's a little bit. That's the way it is. As we will discover in this universe, everything is mixed. There is no real true black and white. There is positive in all negative, and there is negative in all positive. I think we'll get to it perhaps today. But the point is, in general, we need to understand that the actions and speech and thoughts that are against God, they come from the evil soul. Is that clear so far? Is that clear? Ali, are you good? What?
I'm good. He's never good. I think
the rabbi also talked about the fact that where does the evil soul get its energy? And it's not opposing God in the simple sense that it's fighting God, an adversary. It's impossible. God created it. But God had removed himself. He created the evil soul for the purpose of giving us a challenge. He's in full control at any given moment. The evil soul serves God. Its purpose is to create challenges and make it hard for us by refraining from engaging in the evil soul. But evil has no energy on its own. Evil is forbidden for us to engage with and connect. Evil is directly from God. And evil is actually serving God by being around so that we are not connecting to it. So you have Jew haters, you have evildoers, you have gossipers, you have people, nations, countries, animals that are very, very evil. The first example is the serpent, the snake. God cursed the snake and he says, an animosity I'll create between you and man, and you'll always chase man, and man will chase you to kill you. God created this snake, and God destined the snake to create a challenge to man, to human. And the Talmud actually goes on to explain the purpose of the snake. The reason the snake behaved in that way is because he was assigned by God to behave in that way. Ali. But they can open from the kitchen. That's true. The rabbi continues on in last chapter by sharing with us that in this universe, majority of deeds are evil. Majority, not 70%, 90%, 95%. That's the way God wanted the universe to be. So when God created, for some of us who have been here for a long time, there are four universes. The first one is very close to God. The second one, so it's almost all good. The second, and we'll get back to it today on from a different angle. The second world, which is Bria, creation, it says majority good and little evil. Just like by us, it's the opposite. The third world, Yetzirah, in that universe, it's half and half. In this universe, majority are evil and very little is good. And the reason is so that we face the challenge and connect to God. So we have to sift through a lot of debris, a lot of dirt, a lot of negativity to find the little good. But once we connect with the little good, we bring pleasure to God. So that all that is not for God's sake. If I ate non-kosher meat, even though it gave me the energy to lift weight and carry and help an elderly person move their apartment to another place, and I didn't charge, so all the energy came from the calories and the food that I ate, it will never come to the holy side. Why? In Hebrew, the word forbidden is asur. Asur. What does the word asur means in Hebrew? Tied down. Forbidden is a loose translation that does not get to the essence of the word, like every other word in Hebrew. Asur, how do you call jail in Hebrew? Beit Asurim. Have you heard of the word Beit Asurim? The house of bondage. People who are bonded. Mimitzrayim galtanu. So it says in the Bible that Mitzrayim is Beit Asurim. Jail in Hebrew is Beit Asurim. In the modern Hebrew, we call it Kele, we call it Beit Sohar. Sohar is a little play on the word Asur, but the word Asur in Hebrew, translated everywhere you'd find it as forbidden. But it's not forbidden, it's tied down, meaning you can never elevate it and use the energy in a positive way. So every time I have an opportunity to engage, if I want to help an elderly or give, just a minute. Anytime I want to use the energy for my meal to help my children, to help my wife, to help my parents, to help a guest, to help anybody, and the energy came from a kosher food, which I ate for the purpose of serving God, I have elevated that energy, as we'll discover. Chapter 7 is going to talk about it in many details. That's when I've elevated it to God. What happened if it was non-kosher? It contained blood. It's a kosher, it's a fowl. It wasn't slaughtered properly. It was romaine lettuce or kale or broccoli, but it had some worms inside. Then it is forbidden. The meal is forbidden. Forbidden means real essence. The root word of forbidden in Hebrew, asur, it's tied down. It will never be elevated to the purpose that I was created for, no matter what I do with it. This was the conclusion of last week, or lesson 6. Lesson 7, the rabbi is going to go a little farther, actually a little deeper, but to me, this is more exciting. What the rabbi is going to tell us is that it doesn't matter what I do, if it's not purely for God's sake, it will not be godly. However, if it's not totally forbidden, it goes into a middle area, which is ungodly, but it can be elevated into become godly. So the way to understand, so if I ate a meal, as I'm giving you a very brief introduction and summary of the entire chapter. Anytime, if I went now and ate dinner, and I enjoyed dinner because of the food that I like, and I enjoyed every part of it, it's not forbidden, everything was kosher, I have not elevated that meal. The meal is kind of hanging, waiting for me either to repent or to make some amends to elevate it to holiness. It's not holy.
So,
It can be lowered down. Now, we'll discuss it. If I ate the meal, but I had no thought of lust and desire and pleasure, then it's much easier for it. As soon as I use it, the energy for holiness, it elevates to holiness. Do you understand that?
it's very esoteric.
Yes.
I know.
So if you're eating kosher and you overeat, then it's like a negative, like it turns it into a negative.
Again, if I eat
So
kosher meat,
Yeah, if you're like eating all kosher, but you like gorge and you overeat, that means it becomes a negative.
right,
Okay.
right on target. Let me explain, but there is one part that's missing. We spoke that there is godly and there is unholy, right? Defilement. There is one in the middle. And that middle is for anything that is not forbidden, but is not holy. So if I went and ate because I enjoy every bit of it and it's my pleasure, it's kosher, yet it's not holy.
Yikes.
If I enjoy and eat something because I know it is for the purpose of serving God, then when I do serve God, it's elevated into holiness. Shabbat is an exception. On Shabbat, the mitzvah is to enjoy the day. So if I eat or I rest, I serve God. That's the uniqueness of Shabbat. Did any? Yes. Not
So it's
clear?
like, if I'm hungry and I go eat kosher sushi because I'm hungry, it's not. I don't understand it.
Suppose you bunch you have to eat, does it elevate it?
No, blessing does not elevate it yet.
So if after that I help somebody move from one house to another, then it's holy.
Not
trying to understand it.
yet, no.
But not on Shabbos.
I think as it's supposed to be. Cause I eat too much chocolate, that's why I'm like, like, that's what I think, that's how I'm like.
There was so much more I wanted to share, but I see that we need to go back a little bit. So let me just start. An introduction to an introduction. All religion, I am not a professional, I'm not very versed in all other religion, so I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. All other religion, the focus and the emphasis is on the intention, and you believe. What do you believe? If you're born again, it's about accepting. It's about the belief. Judaism say that belief is so little, it's lust. We focus on action. It's all about action. Does that make sense to everybody? Those of us who've been seriously to Judaism will tell you, did you do it or you didn't do it? In fact, the Torah tells us if someone was forced to eat matzah on the Passover night against their will, they fulfill the mitzvah, they say a blessing. So all the intention, we have a mitzvah to believe, there is a dispute if we have a mitzvah to believe in God or not, According to Maimonides, it's not a mitzvah, it's a prerequisite. But let's say we have a mitzvah to believe in God. That mitzvah is, so to say, the first step. It's not everything. And it's not where the emphasis should be. The emphasis is about action. How do I relate to my children? How do I eat the food? What type, how do I, which animal I consume? How do I kill the animal before I consume? All those details, it's all about action. Is that clear so far?
Yes.
Yes.
Tanya, Kabbalah comes and says, let's take it back now. Action alone will be decided if it's holy or not based on my intention. We're going backward. We're going to go full cycle, right? And I need, that's the introduction to introduction. So I eat now. Let's say I love shawarma. My wife asks me, what do you want for dinner? And I say shawarma, and I come and I really enjoy it. We call it the animal soul, not the godly soul. Okay? In order for me to elevate it to holiness, it's not bound, it's not asur, it's not forbidden, it's not tied down that it cannot be elevated. But right now it's hanging. If I go and do teshuvah, we need to do teshuvah for that. Teshuvah means to return back to God. As forgiveness, I can elevate the energy from that meal. That's one way. Another way, another choice, my wife calls me and says, dinner is ready. And either I ask what's for dinner and she says, chicken wings. I happen to hate chicken wings. And I come home and I eat it because that's what my wife prepared. Now I go and I say to myself, I need to be healthy. The doctor told me, you need to have a good meal every day. And I eat it because the doctor told me that's good. That's what to maintain my body. Now I don't even need to use the energy for any purpose because I'm maintaining my body. It's one of God's commandments, and therefore it becomes holy. So you don't have to be a holy man by having long beard and big payas and a Hamburg hat. You don't need to have those stuff. All you have to do is have the intention when the action is positive. If it's a forbidden meal, we're not discuss. It's out of the discussion here, Ali. You understand that, right? If it's forbidden meal, no matter intention, it will not only intention, even action that comes with the intention will not release it because it's bound. We're talking about kosher. I just want you to understand. On Shabbat, I'm allowed to indulge in tasty food to my liking and that gives me pleasure because God wants me to serve him in that way. So therefore I will choose wine that I really enjoy. And I'll ask my wife to make dips and the meal that I enjoy. Why? Because part of serving God is to enjoy the meal. And if I ate meal that I don't enjoy, I didn't fulfill that mitzvah. Did I confuse you? Is this?
So Shabbat is a day apart from the rest of the week and enjoyment of meals.
I used an example, right? In other words, on Shabbat, without your intention, it elevates. Even if your intention interferes, it will elevate. Yes, Ali.
During the week.
What? I didn't hear you.
During the week.
Right.
If every bite you take, you are so grateful to God, and it's provided you this wonderful food. Have you elevated it through that?
Of course. Of
Right?
course.
You're
Of
allowed-
course.
You're allowed to.
If my wife asked me, tomorrow is this is 6 months from your birthday, we celebrate half birthdays. So I want to treat you with a good meal. And I say, you know what? I love shawarma. And she prepares me a very good shawarma dinner. And when I eat it, I says, that will make God, I'm doing it for your sake because I want to be more patient with my children and I want to spend time with my wife and I want to be in synagogue early so I can study a little bit. What I did was I elevated it to holiness, no doubt. The intention is, that's what I'm telling you. Judaism, by the way, it's not It shouldn't be just an introduction to the point. It is such an important point. In Judaism, what matters is action. Is that clear? If you have
Yes.
good intentions in the universe to keep Shabbat, to be kind to one another, to love a fellow friend, not to speak not to gossip, and you didn't follow with action, you did nothing. If you only did action, God commanded you, it's all that matters. On the other hand, according to Kabbalah, with the action, there must be the good intention. If it's not a good intention, even if it's allowed, it is hanging in the middle. And something has to be done to elevate it. It's not bound. It's not down. Yes.
And going back to the meals. I eat 3 times a day, 6 days a week. On Shabbos, I'm allowed to eat whatever I want.
Indulge
to
yourself.
Be elevated. Do I have to have an intention before each meal, or do the meals elevate themselves when I have a general intention of being a good human being? And
You're talking about the weekdays.
yes,
That's why we have a blessing before the meal. Now you get the deeper understanding of the blessing. You know what the blessing is? To focus my mind that God had given me the ability to open my mouth and use my teeth to grind, to enjoy the taste and to digest it and to separate the good from the bad. Thank you, God. Therefore, what I do is there's acknowledgement of that. I thank you, and I will use it in a proper way. So we don't indulge ourselves. We don't fight and get angry. How come we got a bigger portion? We don't complain that it wasn't as tasty as I wanted, because once you focus on what God gave us, then you forget about everything else is non-issue. So as long as it's done before the meal. Do you understand that?
I can understand that.
I just want you to know, I have so much to share. My grandfather, every Friday night, he would yearn for us to spend Shabbat with him, his grandchildren. He was a Holocaust survivor. He lost his parents and brothers and sisters. So I was his oldest grandson. So he was always begging my parents to let me come and spend Shabbat with him. Every time I would spend Shabbat with him and my grandmother, in the middle of the meal, sometimes every few scoops of soup, he would say in Yiddish, L'choved Shabbos Kodesh. And on Yom Tov, on a holiday, he said, L'choved Yom Tov. He would eat the soup and say, while he was eating 2-3 scoops, he would say, to honor the great Shabbat, to honor the great Shabbat. In other words, to remind them, even though you're supposed to enjoy the meal and it's very tasty, and during the week you don't have enough time to sit with family and enjoy the meal. But when you do it, don't forget that it's not about the taste, it's about God. You know, you cannot, you shouldn't be overdoing it. He would do it L'choved Shabbos Kodesh, you do it L'choved Yom Tov all the time. On a weekday, you're not supposed to eat what gives you pleasure. You're supposed to eat what makes you healthy.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean have pleasure from food just so to keep us healthy, and we shouldn't say they're covered.
If you eat for the pleasure like I do, it's not going to holiness. You gotta be, that's the point I'm making.
So when we sit in the morning and have eggs and lox, we say the covered eating, that's not good enough.
You're not elevating it. If you say before, when you say the blessing, you say, I am eating it, so I have more energy to study Torah, more energy to go to a doctor, more energy to walk my dog, and I'll spend more time with him. Whatever is good, then you elevate it to holiness. If you did not have that intention, it stays hanging. It will be elevated later on when you do teshuvah, which we'll talk about later on.
So when you wake up in the morning and say, Modani, you're elevating yourself.
No, you're starting. It's the start. It's the starting point. Did I make myself clear
Yeah.
so far? So now we understand the intention. If I did not have the proper intention, we're talking about kosher food.
Yes.
We're talking about kosher action, an act that's kosher, going into my car, driving or buying a car. It's kosher. There is nothing wrong. I didn't steal the money. I didn't steal the gasoline. But if I do use the car to go for my own pleasure, I didn't serve God. So the energy I derive or I invested in the car or the drive or the gasoline is not elevated to holiness. It remains hanging. But if I said, God, I'm going to the car, I'm buying a nice car or comfortable car, so I am able to serve you, to go to synagogue, to take people around, then what I do is I did it holy. That's it.
Uh-huh.
I want to share with you.
Sure, in whatever car it owns.
I want to,
Okay, every morning then.
of course. What's the question?
There is a question, it's a statement.
Later on, the Rebbe is going to speak about how to elevate it. Those that are hanging in the middle, in the gray area, how to elevate it back. And the last one is what happened when someone committed grave sins. How do they are able to fix it? This is what chapter 7 is, but I want to show you a story. I know you love stories. The story appears the previous Rebbe in 1903. He shared in 1943. He shared the following story. It's a story, one of my favorites. I shared it not in the last 5 years, but I've shared it many times. There was a chassid by the name of Reb Shmuel Munkes. Reb Shmuel Munkes was the jokester of the town. He used to make jokes and fun. He was a very happy-go-lucky man, but he was a great, great chassid. One time there was an occasion for the Hasidim, a lot of men, to come to the synagogue to fabring. Fabring is a word in Yiddish. You sit together, you schmooze, you talk to each other, and you're able to empty out what's on your heart. You're able to show what's on your heart. Other people give you advice. It's a very sacred time that Hasidim experience on many occasions. Sometimes it goes the whole night. There was a Fabringen in 2020, during COVID, 2021, that lasted for 6 days. What they did is, and they started a Fabringen in New York. And when people in New York at 2, 3 o'clock went to sleep, those who were in Europe continued. For them, it was 8 o'clock in the morning, and they went on a whole day. Then Australia, in Australia, there were 100. So there were an average 1,000 men at the time. There was sometimes when one of the speakers will be someone who had great stories. There will be 5,000, 6,000 participants. But I went on and off during the day. I was working, and I would have it on, and you'd see, you hear stories. Everybody shares stories, inspiring. So Fabringen is something. It's one of the identifying marks of a chassid. The chassidim always go to Fabringen. They do Fabringen. Women for themselves, men for themselves. What's the fuel that fuels the Fabringen? What keeps the chassidim going and not falling asleep? Booze.
Yeah.
Vodka.
Booze.
And when you take vodka, you need some, we call it farbison. You need to take something, condiments with the vodka. So, at 9, 10 o'clock, everybody donated. This one brought in potato salad, another one had tomato salad, this one had a little bit few chicken pieces that's left in the house. Everybody bought, but came 1 o'clock in the morning, they ran out of food. So they didn't know what to do. So they told Reb Shmuel, you always can get away with people without angering them. So go and find a source. And he says, tell me where to go. They said to him, go to the source, the butcher. The butcher must have meat. Go ask him to donate for the Fabringen. So he goes, knocks on the door, wakes up the butcher, and he says, we have a Fabringen. We need fuel to keep going. We need the meat. So the wife gave him a very tasty part of meat that our husband, the butcher, just brought back from the shoichet, the slaughtered a big cow, and he brought in a big piece. So she said, you can have it. So he gets the pot. He's going to return the pot tomorrow to the butcher's family, but he goes in the town and he's happy. It's nobody's in town. There's no lights. And he comes into synagogue and with the pot. And they said to him, what's that? He says, the butcher wife told me that the husband bought it. So she put it on the flame. There was no refrigeration. I think they would cook it right away. And it's still hot. It's fresh. Churros came. They all wanted it and they were jumping and from joy. Oh, we got some good food. And he says to them, no, not yet. Not so fast. And he says, cool down. What do you mean cool down? We've been waiting for you for 45 minutes. Give us the food, put the food. It's not even yours. You asked to bring, you received it to give it to us. He says, no, I'm not going to. And suddenly some of the youngsters turn to him and says, hey, if you don't give it by willingly, we'll make sure you give it by force. And they told Reb Shmuel, hey, either you give it to us or, we'll take it.
We're going to take it.
When he heard that, he ran to the outhouse and he poured it into the outhouse. So
Oh my goodness.
No way.
Woo.
he came back with the empty pot. So those few chased
Boy.
whatever. So they told them, there is a sin, Bal Tashris. Bal Tashris, you're not allowed to waste. You just committed a sin. For that, you need to get few lashes. Put you behind on the table, as they did. Give you lashes for committing a sin. So he said, okay, I accept it, if that's what the majority rules. So he lay down on the table and everybody gave him a patch. And
Probably a very gentle patch.
suddenly, so they forgot about it. They figured they're going to go on dry. An hour later, the door burst open and butcher is rushing in. Where is the meat? Where is the meat my wife donated? And he says, relax, it's not here. No, it's not kosher. You can't eat it. So they said, really? What happened? He says, the shoichet, the slaughterer, slaughtered few animals. I assumed the one area where he kept the animals that are kosher. Some animals are turned to be not kosher. And I took by a mistake from the non-kosher. I thought it's kosher and I took it home. The shoichet, now it's already 3-4 o'clock in the morning, he's going to the place to shech, to slaughter more animals. He sees that a big chunk is missing from the non-kosher pile. And he says to himself, the butcher just must have taken. So he came to me, he just woke me up. And I said to my wife, where is that pot that you put on the fire with this? We need to. She said, gosh, at 1 o'clock in the morning, Reb Shmuel came to taking it for bringing. So he didn't take off his pajamas. He put his pants and shirt over, and he ran to synagogue to stop the Hasidim from eating treif, eating not kosher. It's a great scene. So they all turned to Reb Shmuel. They turned to the butcher and says, relax, nobody ate it, nobody touched it. Now they turn to him and says, oh, you're a holy man. You can tell if it's kosher or not. Now we need to give you now we need to give you lashes again, because among Hasidim there are no secrets. And man, the secret from us that you are a holy man and you can tell on a meat if it's kosher or not. We're going to give you more lashes. For that, you deserve even bigger lashes. But among Hasidim, if there is secrets, it's worse. So he said, okay, if that's the majority, I'll do it. So he lies down at the table. This time he said, no, get off. And he turned to him and says, how did you figure out? So he said, I didn't know it's kosher. It's non-kosher. But the first time I came to the Rebbe to become a Chassid, I asked the Rebbe, how do I live my life properly? And the Rebbe told me, there is one simple way to decide if something is appropriate or not. anytime you have something with a very strong desire to do, know that it comes from the evil side. Anytime you're involved in a physical activity, and physical activity is eating, speaking, doing, and you have a very strong urge, it cannot be from holiness. It's very impure. When I got that meat, that pot, I had such a strong desire. I was hungry. I already drank a little. I needed something, but I said to myself, where is this desire come from? I'm a chassid. It shouldn't matter to me if I ate if I skip a meal or not. And I wasn't able to tell clearly where it comes from. Then when I entered, so I figured maybe it's me. But then I entered the room and I see all of you Hasidim, and you lost your mind over a piece of food. This is out of character. And I see the more I'm holding back, the worse you're acting. You acted in a way, you're about to force it out of me. I said to myself, it cannot come from the holy side. And therefore, I said to myself, it's not, you don't deserve it. It shouldn't be consumed. And that's why I threw it away. And the Rebbe explained that sometimes it's all kosher, big rabbis supervise it, and everybody else does it. But if it's for me a great desire, for me, it may be inappropriate. So I can be here with my wife. I'm going to give you a personal example soon. I can be here sitting with another person. We both eat the same meal from the same package. For one, it's a very holy act. For the other, the act has nothing to do with God. I'm going to use a personal example. And I wanted to get into this concept, and that will help me. I hate meat and chicken. I despise chicken. I despise chicken and meat. Yeah. So I have a brother who loves chicken. I have a younger brother, and he looks much older than me. Every time we go around, everybody thinks I'm the youngest. Now, we come home, we come to visit a year and a half ago. All the siblings came for my parents for Shabbat. Only the siblings and those spouses that are there. So while they were serving, my father turned and he says, what a taiva. Taiva, I don't know how to translate taiva. We ordered a catered, because there were about 15 people at the Shabbat meal. So instead of making my sister's cook, everybody chipped in. So some of the chicken and the meat were very tasty and very good. So when my father saw it, he commented, this is an opportunity for us to refrain from eating it and serving God. Because if you eat it because you lost it. You are lusting after that. So I turned to my father and I says, and for me, eating it is serving God, because I don't want to eat it. I hate it. It's very hard for me. When I eat it because there is a commandment to enjoy Shabbat, to eat meat and wine. So not only I don't enjoy it, but it's very difficult for me, and I do it to serve God. And my father says, yeah, you're the exception. So I have two people here, both take a piece of chicken from the same plate. For one, it is a great way of serving God, because the doctor ordered them to eat chicken and meat, or we know that it's healthy for his body. For another, he's doing it just because he loves chicken and he loves meat. And therefore, it's not a sin, but according to Kabbalah, it's very close to a sin, because it's not holy. It can elevate, it can reconnect to God. Harry, did you understand that?
Perfect.
Oh, wow.
You don't like meat and chicken for real?
Not much, no. But can we study Torah now?
I've been here for years and I didn't know it.
I am going to read now from 7th chapter, page 113. However, unlike the life forms mentioned at the conclusion of chapter 6, which are derived from the three holy unclean klipot, the following life forms are derived from klipat nuga. So let me start by telling you that what I discussed now until now, we call it nuga. We will see in a moment why it's called nuga. Klipa is shell or covering, nuga. So it's number 4. Remember, it's number 4 because the first unclean are 3. There are 3 unclean klipot. That's evil. Then comes one better, which is the 4th one, which is nuga. Says the Rebbe, the vitalizing animal soul in the Jew, which is derived from the side of klipa, and which clothes itself in the human being's blood, providing him with physical life, as stated above, and the soul of the animals, beasts, birds, and fish, which are pure mean kosher, according to the laws of the Torah, and are thus permitted for Jewish consumption, as also the existence of and vitality of everything in the inanimate and the vegetable world that is permissible for consumption, so too the existence and vitality of every act, utterance, and thought in mundane matters that contain no forbidden aspects, being neither root no branch of the 365 prohibitive precepts and their offshoots prohibited either under explicit authority of the Torah or by rabbinic enactment. However, yet, when these permitted thoughts, utterances, or acts are not performed for the sake of the heaven as they ought to be, they are going to come from nuga. So the rabbis went through a very long list of activities, beings that animals, birds, vegetables, inanimate, utterances, action, thoughts, if they are not for the purpose of serving gods, they come from nuga. Nuga is the middle one, the parv one, the no bad, no good. However, it needs to be going back to good, to holy. A Jew's actions, words, and thoughts should be directed towards the service of God. For example, in eating, one's intention should be that the food supplies strength for study, prayer, or performing other commandments. He should conduct his business with the intention of providing for his family, educating his children in the path of Torah and mitzvot, giving to charity, etc. But when his deeds, words, and thoughts do not serve this purpose, instead, they serve only the will, desire, and lust of the body, and even where it is a need of the body and necessary for its very preservation and life, such as eating, which the body requires for its very existence, which with and without which it cannot possibly live, thus the act itself cannot be faulted, but the fault lies in that his intention is not for the sake of heaven. That is, to utilize his body as an instrument in the service of God. If this spiritual intent is absent, then all these acts, utterances, and thoughts are no better than the vitalizing animal soul itself. Remember what I told you, it's all about intention. If it's forbidden, it doesn't even enter our discussion. This is not our discussion tonight. If it's not forbidden, animal, vegetables, rocks, whatever food that we find, or speaking, doing, thinking, that's not against God, but not for the sake of God or to preserve the body to serve God, then they are just like the unclean animal soul.
Rabbi, is it realistic to think the human being goes through these kinds of processes as a pressing of their daily lives? I think probably.
Your question is a very, very important question. Not only it's realistic, it enables us to serve God with great joy, realizing that being perfect is not what God wants from us. If someone says, I'm a perfect human being, he takes himself out of God's realm. What God wants us is to face those challenges. Those challenges helps us grow and enjoy every day fresh. If you think you've conquered the universe and you are connected to God because you study every day and you pray every day, you're missing the point of what Judaism is about. God wants that on every act we remember it's from God and it's for God's sake. And therefore, every day it's a fresh, new battle, challenge, or opportunity to connect. So, realistically speaking, I cannot speak about you, so about me. I don't think I follow this, but I try, but I do it from time to time, or at least I know where I'm holding. This is more important than anything. So, someone who is lost, but he sees, at least he knows he's got lost. So there is hope one day he'll find his way. Someone who doesn't even realize he's lost is only going to get worse.
I press every day, feeling it's a gift of God. When I think about things, I think, what did my father say? What I'm doing.
Very good. But you need to.
Holy. I think it's just
why not?
I don't treat it as holy. I treat it as a proper thing to think about.
All right. So the Jewish way, there is nothing wrong with the way you're thinking. In fact, you are serving God by performing the mitzvah of honor thy father and mother. So don't take it lightly. However, there is a Jewish way, and the Jewish way is to think about God. What does God want from me? I'm not perfect. I don't do all that, but at least I try, and from time to time.
If you turn around and say, "What do you want from me, God?" That's thinking in a different way. What do you want? I'm doing the best I can.
What do you think? What should God say? What do you want from me?
Well, it's a way of interpretation, but it really is.
All right.
And I say, with God on our side, it should be with us on God's side.
Of course, but God gives you an opportunity to be on His side. And everything in this totality of things, that is the soul with its action, utterances, and thoughts, flows and is drawn from the second gradation of klipot and sitra achra, which is in the progressively ascending order of klipot, the fourth klipa called klipat nuga, klipa that shines, for within this klipa there is yet found a ray of holiness. In the chariot of Ezekiel, Ezekiel's vision, he saw a chariot. In the description of what he saw, he described 4 levels. The first one, he says, is ruach se'ara, a very strong wind. The second one is anan gadol, a big, large, heavy cloud. The third one is esh mitlakachat, a fire that keeps burning higher and higher. And the fourth one is venoga lo saviv, and around it there is a small shine, a belt of light. Noga is the name of number 4. The 3 unclean klipot are the first 3 description of Ezekiel, what he saw. And the 4th one is Noga. So it's the 4th, but we call it klipat Noga, the shell of Noga. Noga has a little bit positive, but it's very minute, very small. Majority is negative. For in this world, called the world of Asiya, action, most, indeed almost all, of the klipat nuga is evil, with only a little good intermingled within it, according to the Chabad, and you will find it everywhere in the Talmud and in the Zohar. The majority of our deeds are evil. Majority of our action is evil. However, the little bit God is expecting from us is to do with the right intention. So if I try to do a little bit better than yesterday, I am perfect. If I tomorrow try to be a little bit better than today, I am perfect, nothing else. How am I to be holy? To use the mundane activities. It's not about studying Torah. It's not about prayer. It's not about speaking Hebrew. It's about utilizing all the talents and all our abilities for God's sake. How do you do that? When you interact with others, when you take good care of your body, when you have a happy mood, when you serve God in that way, for God's sake, not that everybody should think highly of me or respect me or love me or I should make more money, etc. But for God's sake, then I am a perfect human being. That's what perfect is. And in the moment when I engage with a meal that I eat for God's sake, I'm a perfect human being. In the moment I'm engaged with helping someone or studying or going to work so I can support my family and I can give tzedakah and I can eat well and I can dress well and I can live in a nice community, I am serving God as long as the intention, the right intention is there. Klipat Nuga is found in the higher worlds as well. However, the proportion of good and evil which comprise it vary from one world to the next. In Bria, the second world, Klipat Nuga is mostly good, possessing only a small measure of evil, which is separate from the good. In Yetzirah, the third world, it is composed equally of good and evil. While in Asiya, in this world of action, our physical world, Klipat Nuga is almost totally evil, with only a minute representation of good and light. Is that clear so far? Ali?
Yep.
Can we continue? Wow.
Catch up.
Oh, I should catch up to you? From this minute amount of good within Klipat Nuga come the good qualities which are found in the animal soul of the Jew, as is explained above. In chapter 1, I believe the Rabbi is talking about our nature to be kind. Gmilut Chasadim. It's an inborn nature within the Jewish people, and that comes from Klipat Nuga. It's not from the godly soul. Even if we do it for not for ulterior motive, it comes from Klipat Nuga. As explained in the first chapter, the Jews' inherent qualities of compassion and benevolence stem from his animal soul. This is a soul of Klipaya, yet because its origin are in Klipat Nuga, which incorporates good as well, it gives rise to the good traits of compassion and benevolence. Since Klipat Nuga is a mixture of good and evil, any action, utterance, and thought emanating from this Klipa can be utilized for good or evil. Indeed, as the Alter Rebbe will explain presently, the very same action, utterance, or thought may be holy if done for the sake of heaven, or evil if otherwise intended. So, if I do, as I said, I can be eating a meal, and it's the same food, the same menu, everything is the same. It can be holy, it can be evil. It depends on my intention. Now, Klipat Nuga is an intermediate category between the three complete unclean klipot and the category and order of sanctity. So you have sanctity, holiness. You have three klipot that are unholy, unclean, and then you have one in the middle. Hence, it is sometimes absorbed within the three unclean klipot, as is explained in Etz Chaim 49, beginning chapter 4, cited in the Zohar, and at other times it is absorbed in and elevated to the category of level of sanctity. So sometimes it's elevated. So if I go fishing and I catch a fish, and when it's kosher fish, of course, and I clean it and I share it with my wife, and I make a blessing beforehand, and I make it very tasty. without much oil, so it's healthy for my body. And when I say the blessing, I say, God, thank you for helping me enjoy this meal. And this is going to be, so my body will be functioning well the way you want it. So I have more energy to listen, to do, to go to work, etc. What I did is I made it very, very holy. I took something that was here and I made it very high. What if I caught the fish and I brag about it to all my friends? And I say to them, it's so good that I'm not going to share it with anybody. And I'm going to go and fry it and put on it. I go on 10 YouTube videos, how to make fish, the tastiest fish in the world. And I eat it all by myself. I made a blessing before, but the reason I eat it is because I want to show the victory of me. I can catch fish and I can enjoy it. What happens is I took that fish straight down to the basement. It goes to the evil soul. It's all, so I ate the same amount. It's the same fish. It took the same way to, same efforts or energy to catch the fish. It's all about my intention. That is, it is absorbed within sanctity when the good that is intermingled in it is extracted and separated from the evil, prevails over it, and ascends to be absorbed in sanctity. And the rabbi is going to give us an example, and I don't want to skip that example. So, for instance, I'm skipping a little bit. If one eats fat beef and drinks spiced wine, not out of physical desire, but in order to broaden his mind for the service of God and for his Torah, as Rabbi said, wine and fragrance make my mind more receptive, or in order to fulfill the commandment to enjoy the Shabbat and the festivals. There is a famous story in the Talmud. A student asked Rabbi a question, and Rabbi gave him an answer. Then he went home to eat lunch. Apparently his wife prepared to him a very, very tasty lunch with fat beef and very tasty wine. When he came back after lunch for the yeshiva, he turned to the student and he said to him, whatever answer I gave you is the wrong answer. I have the correct answer. And he gave him a whole different answer. So the students, having absorbed what happened, they turned to Rabbi and he says, what happened before you gave him an answer and it wasn't as powerful as now? And Rabbi says the difference is in between, I went home and I ate a very, very good meal. I had good beef and I drank good wine. So it made my mind concentrate much deeper and I was able to find the correct answer. So in the Gemara, so the Rebbe Hasidic teaching uses it as a metaphor that eating meat or indulging in good tasty food is not bad as long as it's done for the sake of serving God. And there is an ability to serve God by eating very tasty food, what you like, the way you enjoy it, in a nice, clean, fancy dishes, be dressed nicely. All that adds to our service of God as long as the intention is there. We will continue next week, God willing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.